In later years, British administrators attributed his apparent success to the accuracy of his timing, undertaking sacrifices when the epidemic was already on the wane. Still, others were willing to see some scientific methods of his madness. When smallpox entered the land, he banned dances and ordered people to leave their hunts and sleep in the open. There was meat available from daily sacrifices, so the extra food strengthened their resistance, and with the avoidance of normal crowded conditions, the smallpox smoldered out. Ngundeng's effort to do appeared to have helped limit the spread of rinderpest among the Nuer. 10 years later, the Lo were observed to have large herds of healthy cattle. Whether Ngundeng controlled these two epidemics by chance or by shrewd observation is besides the point. He is remembered as being successful, and his success is attributed to his spiritual strength of Deng. The memory of his success has certainly grown within time. In the presence of diseases and warfare in the modern Lo society is frequently explained by references to the demise of Ngundeng and Gwek, and to the destruction of the mound shrine they built and maintained. Ngundeng is most famous for building a large earth mound at his central shrine. He called it his bie, or his paldul, two words which modern Los associate only with Ngundeng's mound and for which they offer no other meaning. Bie, in fact, meaning the tip of the horn. Though concealed in the shape and resembling both Nilotic cattle biers in the tombs of northern Sudanese Muslim saints, it was called a pyramid by British officials, and its significance to the Lo or to Ngundeng was never investigated or explained. There was already a tradition of large fixed shrines in the Upper Nile region, and Ngundeng's mound continued that tradition. Just as other shrines were political as well as religious centers, so Ngundeng's mound demonstrated a shift in the political center of the Ngundeng immigrants. In building it, Ngundeng drew explicitly on the symbolism of Puam Awel and Luang Deng. The first bie Ngundeng built was a Welbil on Kur Waku. It was a small mound variously called a bie Luang Deng and Puam Longar. Weebel itself was renamed Deng, the place of Deng. This small mound was also surmounted by a fisher spear, which Ngundeng took with him when he left Jikane. After the Battle of Pading, Ngundeng returned to Juet and proposed that the Lo move from there to Weebel, where there was more water. The Lo, remembering the natural disaster of the Bumjak campaign, refused. So Ngundeng remade it at Juet and also began to build another mound there. Some say, apparently incorrectly, bearing the Dinka spears capturing at Pading inside it. At that time, the Lo were unenthusiastic about the labor involving in building a large shrine. Juet is near the southern frontier of Lo country, close to the Dinka, but not to other Lo. Ngundeng persuaded a Rumjok man, Gaimut, to exchange villages with him, and Ngundeng moved to Keji, a village in the center of Lo country, in Gun territory, but within sight of the first Mur settlement. Ngundeng moved because he wanted to be a central location, accessible to all people. The move to Keji, also renamed as Weedang, came well after the end of the main migration phase of the Lo. They continued to expand the frontier of their territory, but they refused to contemplate another large-scale migration. Weedang placed Ngundeng within reach of all the different territorial segments of the Lo. It also placed him near to the Jikane while keeping him in touch with the Dinka. It represented the physical center of the new Nuer community east of Kur Fuluth. It was here that Ngundeng built his last largest mound. The 60-foot high mound became a large shrine like Luang Deng, known as Luakot to the Nuer, and transcended the political divisions within around the Eastern Nuer society. It was also a place where the divinity Deng could become available, not just to the Nuer, but to all people. Ngundeng's success in creating the center is revealed, and in all administrative assessments of his village written within a few weeks of his death. The building went through different phases, beginning with the preparation of huts and collection of grain for the workforce, laying the foundation with local labor and adding the height with labor from the other Nuer groups. Percy Korat, the Nuer-speaking district commissioner who oversaw the demolition of the mound in 1928, gave this version of how Ngundeng began its construction. At dawn, on the following morning, he carried the first load of earth to the site he had chosen for his Loquath, and thus he was begun the building of the pyramid itself. From that hour until it was completed, he supervised and controlled the work of thousands of Nuer. Mud was dug from adjacent pools and carried in baskets to the ground, where it was shaped and pounded to the required dimensions. And the mound rose in height. Tiers of workers handed up the basket to others above them. Bulls were brought from all over Nuer land, and the meat was divided and eaten by the builders. When there was a shortage of bulls, corn was distributed from the grinders, from the others. Day after day, the work continued. It is believed that 4 rainy seasons passed before the mound of Dengkud was finished. Now, this is the Evans Pritchard explanation of the mound. The building of this mound was a gigantic task. It was constructed of wet ashes mixed with baked and unbaked earth. For the material was excavated from 2 large vacated cattle camps, where ashes and other camps' debris had grown from year to year and become sodden and agglomerated by many seasons of rain. The workers who built it stood one above the other in tiers from the base of the pyramid, and each handed up materials to the man above him. It does not seem that there was any systematic construction of labor in the building of the mound, but people came voluntarily from all over the countryside to assist, and often brought bullocks with them for sacrifices. They would spend 3 or 4 nights in one of the temporary grass shelters which others had put up, and when the food that they had brought with them was finished, they would return to their homes also, and their places would be taken by other pilgrims. The flesh of the sacrificed bullock was divided amongst the workers and lengthened their supplies. It is said that the people brought handful of ashes to add to the mound from Gajuk and Gaijak and Gawang countries as an act of piety. Ngureng Ngundeng, the prophet's son born in 1890s, remembered that the construction of the mound took 4 years. Tudjiagai said that the Lo were involved in the work for only 2 years, after which Jikane, the Ngot Dinka, and others added to the structure for another 3 years. From others, we learned that the work began between November or December. After the second harvest and at the beginning of the dry season, the base of the mound was made from the trunks and branches of trees cut from wood, which covered the site. Ashes were brought from as far away as Jikane to put on top. Ngundeng asked people to come, but did not force them. They came willingly because they believed in his divinity and wanted his blessing. Workers were fed in part from their own provision, and in part from a large plantation which Ngundeng cultivated for a considerable distance around the site. Ngundeng maintained this plantation covering a square mile or more for a rest of his life. A number of songs referred to the building of the mound. There are references in these songs to Ngundeng's seizures, fits, and his appeal to many peoples. The Lo will not recognize each other. They'll be so mad, and perhaps they will forget their quarrels. Those who feared outsiders will find strength and life at the mound. It is, or is proclaimed to be, a profound change. The mound was estimated in 1917 to be some 50 feet high with a diameter of about 100 feet, which would give it a volume of 131,250 cubic feet. Each person who brought dirt brought only 10 cubic feet. Then some 13,000 people would have been involved in the fetching along. The gourds, pots, and baskets were used as containers, would have held only 1 or 2 cubic feet each. 13,000 workers must have taken as a reasonable minimum. The mound was frequently referred as a cattle lock or a cattle byre, and it did indeed contain a black and white animal of the configuration, which was placed and then covered with wood and ashes. Ox horns were found in the middle of the mound during the excavation to blow it up in 1928. Corey mentioned the sacrifice of a white bull, perhaps a misidentification, and numerous bones fragments can still be seen on the mound's surface. Ivory was brought to adorn the mound as well. A large fence of it surrounded the base, and six tusks, two facing the gun, and 4 facing the Mur, Jikain, Anyuak, and Murli, circled the apex. That the ivory was brought by many supplicants is implied in the first government reported on the mount in 1900, based on the heresy and giving that preserved twist to the evidence typically of so many governments accounted of the prophets. It was alleged that Ngundeng's village had a fort made of an elephant's tusk taken from Dinkas, Shuluks, and Nuers in various raids. Ngundeng told the Lo this, and he frequently referred to the mound in his song as Luakneng and Luakkuth. It resembled Pom Awele's physically, both as a earth mound and because Ngundeng placed a fishing sphere at its apex. The myth about Awele, Longard mentioned that he built his own cattle, his cattle byre out of the bodies of living men, who stood on each other's shoulders, tier upon tier. Stories about Pom Awele describes a human scaffolding surrounding it as it was building higher and higher. The mount over Awele's byre had the half of a fishing spear sticking out of the apex. All of this echoed in the building of Ngundeng's mound, which is also called Pom Longar in Ngundeng's hymns. The imagery of Awele stabbing the people with his fishing spear was deliberately invoked by Ngundeng's intimidation of Pom Awele. Ngundeng explained in this way: It was put in because of this fishing sphere of Longar. The work that it does when Longar thrusts the sphere. The work that it does when Longar thrusts the fishing sphere down. All the people were finished by him. Divinity said that it should be intimidated. Longar, he claimed, had been a prophet. Long ago, Longar was speaking to the world. When he was speaking to the world, he became a prophet, in which, in the Nor language, prophet means, Gwek means prophet. Longar, and no one else, was a precursor to Ngundeng. Long ago, Longar ruled his territory. He pierced the people with a fishing spear. He himself. People who tried to talk to him, he himself pierced them with a fishing spear. The divinity was repeated when Ngundeng put a fishing spear in the top of his shrine. Deng and Awele was associated in the stories concerning Luangdeng, but Garang went further and declared that divinity Buk, the mother of Deng, was also the mother of Longar, who she conceived when she was penitentiary by water. It was Ngundeng's innovation to combine the two Dinka figures, one a clan divinity and the other original spearmaster, not only in one shrine, but in one person. In one of Ngundeng's songs, Deng announced himself as a new divinity. This Iwel imagery is represented in stories, now told about Ngundeng's victory at Pading. This appropriation of Awels was important in Ngundeng's career as a peacemaker. It reinforced his role as a mediator not only among the Nor but among the Dinka. It also appropriating the divinity Deng, Ngundeng attempted to regulate spiritual activity throughout the Eastern Nor community. Ellis Pritchard published a hymn to Deng, originally taken down in Dinka by Godfrey Leonhardt in the early 1950s. In it, Deng warns, "A man avoiding Deng will find Deng in front. On the right, he will find Deng. On the left, he will find Deng. Behind him, he will find Deng." It is likely that some of Ngundeng's hymns to Deng were based on the Dinka songs sung at Luangdeng. Ngundeng is not known to have visited the shrine himself, but there was contact, and, at least the beginning of his career, he sent his cattle to the shrine. His ox name, Deng Kud, was conferred upon him by the caretaker of the day, Deng Angwer. In this way, the shrine recognized Ngundeng's autonomy. There was mutual co-optation between the old shrine and the new prophet. The new center of Deng was a transplant, not a rival. I hope this video was well informed and that the video carefully described the origins of Ngundeng's pyramid. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to the next video.